Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. We're going to get started in just a few minutes. While everyone is coming in, I want to invite you to please find the chat and let me know the name of your business, the industry that your business is in, and maybe what your role is at the company. I'm going to go to the chat now. Welcome to everyone who's joining us. Come on in. We'll get started in just a moment, but while we're letting everyone get their computers to load, if you can go to the chat and let us know the name of your business, industry, and what your role is, that will be very helpful. So as we go through today's session, we can provide some relevant examples for everyone. Let me go to the chat and see what's coming in. All right, we have representation from Property Lettings. Great to see you, Jade or Javed. All right, we've got Terry from Bryson Recycling, working in communications. Yona, we've got upholstery and design, great representation there. Bespoke new upholstered furniture makers, oh great. All right, we've got Sharon from Anderson's Limited, great. Marketing and advertising, awesome. As you're coming in, feel free to go to the chat. We're going to get started in just a moment. I just want to get everyone into the webinar room. Awesome. All right, we've got great representation. We've got great representation as far as the geography. We've got some individuals from the Isle of Wight, the Hearing and Mobility Store. Willie, nice to see you. Awesome. Okay, I think we've got a good number in the crowd today, so we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to our webinar, Facebook Audience Targeting Simplified. Get higher quality leads for your business. This webinar is hosted by Local IQ. We're one of the UK's fastest growing digital marketing agencies. We're a part of the NewsQuest Media Group, so when you work with Local IQ, we give you exclusive access to a network of more than 200 trusted news brands in more than 25 locations across the UK, both in print and online. We have an all-in-one marketing platform that helps you find, convert, and keep your customers. We've been hosting webinars for several months now, so we're happy that you all are joining us today. Our last webinar, we talked about how to get started with a paid social media advertising strategy. And today we're going to go a little bit deeper into one of the platforms, one of the most popular platforms, Facebook. And so let's just do a check. I know you're probably asking, well, is this webinar for me? So yes, this webinar is for you if you and your business has already started your digital advertising strategy. You've started your presence on Facebook. If you're a marketing manager, this call is for you because you'll be able to take the pro tips that we share with you and immediately implement it to your campaigns. But even if you're a senior executive, you'll get something out of today's call as well, because you'll be able to walk away with the frame of reference that will allow you to have better conversations with your team so that you can support them. And if you want to go beyond the basic Facebook boosted posts, we're going to answer some of those questions today in regards to the different types of ads you can activate on Facebook. We're going to talk about the different types of audiences you can target and ways that you can customize your audience on Facebook. So if you meet those roles, if you have some of those questions, you are in the right spot. All right. So this is our agenda for today. We've got about 4 questions that we want to make sure that you walk away with the answers to. And those questions are, who is the audience on Facebook? What are the audience targeting capabilities of Facebook? How can you generate higher quality leads? And then we want to make sure that you walk away with some next steps as well. We're going to have time for a Q&A, but feel free, if you have a question, I don't want you to lose your question. You can go into the chat in the questions box, just like you just did to introduce yourself, and put the question that you have. I've got some colleagues from Local IQ who are behind the scenes and are going to try to answer as many questions as they can. We'll try to answer some during the Q&A segment as well. But if we don't get to your question live on today's webinar, just stay tuned to our blog, because after our webinar, we will share all of the answers to the questions that everyone had today. My name is Brandon Griffin. I'm head of B2B marketing for Local IQ. I've been with our company for about 5 years, but I've been in the digital marketing space for about 10 years, and I've worked across a lot of different campaigns and industries. And so I'm really happy to share some of the knowledge with you all today. And then also a little bit later on the call, I've got a colleague, Richard Dowling, who's the regional sales manager for our digital marketing services here at Local IQ. And he's going to come and share with us some of the insights that he's learned from working with businesses as it relates to helping them get higher quality leads. So that's our agenda for today. Feel free to take notes along the way, but rest assured that we do have resources, including this webinar recording, that will be emailed to you over the next few days after today's session. We've got the webinar workbook, which is also available in the handout tool, a complete guide to Facebook advertising, a Facebook advertising budget tracker, which is going to be really helpful. So just stay tuned to your email and we'll make sure you get all of these resources. All right, let's jump in, because we only have about 30 to 45 minutes today, and let's get the answer to this first question, which is, who is the audience on Facebook? Because I'm sure once you see these numbers, just about everyone on this call is probably represented here. So Facebook has more than 2.4 billion monthly active users, and just about half of those users actually get on it every day. 350 million pictures are uploaded. 8 billion video views are watched every day. In fact, nearly 40% of the world's population is represented in the Facebook user demographic count. And when we think about how old are the users on Facebook, it's across the board from 13 years old to 65 plus. It has great representation, and probably among the largest demographic group, 18 to 34-year-olds, in a combination of both male and females. When we look at when they're spending time, this is across the globe in terms of how engaged are users and when are users engaged on Facebook. As you look at this heat map chart, there's typically not a day or time of the week where a person may not be on Facebook. So across this age range and across this time frame and across these nearly 3 billion users, I'm sure that there's an audience or there's a customer on Facebook that has done business with your establishment before. But bringing it closer to the UK, this is some of the demographics that we've got here. 55 million users are represented in the UK when it comes to Facebook. That's nearly 82% of our population, and it's almost an even split between 50-50 in terms of women and men. And you can see the age demographic breakout here, the largest being 18 to 44. That is really the power of Facebook. Facebook has two super strengths, and that is its numbers in terms of the billions of users, the 55 million in the UK, but then also behind the scenes, it's their technology. It's Facebook's ability to serve relevant content, especially advertisements, to users just like me and you. They serve us content that we didn't even know that we were missing, that we didn't even know that we were needing. And so the question then becomes, well, as a business, how can I leverage this? What are the audience targeting capabilities of Facebook? That's going to be the next few slides that I share with you today to help you understand all the different ways that you can use Facebook to narrow those or target your ads to those 55 million people in the UK or even further abroad. The first thing that I want to make sure you all are aware of is that when you first sit down to do a Facebook advertising campaign, the first thing that you can set is your objective. Remember that people are on Facebook to pass time. They aren't necessarily on Facebook to go shopping, right? So you have to push past the noise to get their attention. And then once you have it, you really need to maximize that viewpoint. And so you want to consider the different pain points that a user has. You want to think about the things that they're doing on Facebook to make sure that you're serving your ad at the right and most appropriate time. And so think about where your customers are on their buyer's journey, and think about how you can serve your most appropriate ad at that right moment. So is it awareness that your goal is? Is that your objective? Do you just want to let people know about your business? Or maybe you're wanting to push them further along that journey and get them when they're considering your product. You want them to watch a video testimonial. You want them to download. You want them to get a sample, order a sample from your business. Or maybe it's a conversion. You're trying to collect data so that you can follow up with that user a little bit later. Facebook asks you to think about what's the outcome that you want to achieve from your advertising campaign at the beginning. So that's the first thing before you get into any other targeting. Then we get into general audience targeting. So this is perhaps the most basic and broad because it allows you to target individuals based off of, first and foremost, like the age, their location, and their gender. And so even if you just use those three pieces of information, Facebook can serve your ad to, when you do that, you'll see it'll be the millions. And everything I talk about moving forward, you'll have the opportunity to narrow that audience down. But here's the first pro tip that I want to encourage you to walk away with today. As you're learning about all of the different targeting capabilities, we're going to talk about several types. This general core broad audience is the first type. The key to success is to try to conduct A/B testing, have several campaigns going on at the same time, not targeting the same people, but targeting different sets of users. And so you want to have a general broad audience, and then you want to narrow it down, and we'll talk more about that as we move forward. Facebook is really easy to use for a lot of people in that it allows you to make changes pretty much whenever you want to. But I do want to encourage you as a pro tip, once you set your campaign, try to give it at least 2 to 4 weeks before you're tempted to go in and make changes, because you want to allow Facebook the opportunity to let its technology work for you, because Facebook has the algorithm technology that will understand what users are most likely to engage with your ad. But it can't do that if we're always making changes. And so that's one tip that I really wanted to make sure we all walked away with today. Again, I know I'm going fast, just want to try to keep it to time, but if you have questions, feel free to type it into the chat and we'll try to get you all of those answers. So once you've understood that you have the broad audience on Facebook, you can advertise to the masses. The next level is to understand that you have the ability to target custom audiences. So this is showing your ad, this is telling Facebook to show your ad to specific people. Maybe you have a list of all the customers who have made purchases from you. You have their email addresses. You can even set pixels on your website to make sure Facebook shows your ad to individuals who've come to your home page, your checkout page. Or even if a person has watched your video on Facebook, Facebook allows you to input that information of the individuals who's familiar with your business, so that way you can target them. Sounds easy, but there are also some other challenges in the mix as well. There's a good Did You Know Here call out that talks about iOS 14 updates and how that is impacting businesses. Facebook even did a study, and it said that a local bookshop that used to spend £50 to get 5 sales, after the iOS 14 updates, once we weren't able to use as much personalization data to try to target and identify these custom audiences, it went from them spending £50 to get 5 sales to only being able to get 2 sales because they weren't able to actually track and target the most precise customer. So it's really helpful to try to get as much information as you can about your users for yourself and not be limited to the data sets that are available through the platforms like the mobile devices. So whatever information you can get and have as like first proprietary, that's really good to do. The next audience moving along is a lookalike audience. So on Facebook, you have the broad audience, you have custom audiences, and then you have lookalike audiences. Lookalike audiences is where you go into Facebook and you say, I have this information about 100 potential customers, and I want Facebook to help me find other individuals who are like these businesses or like these users. And Facebook will take that information and it'll do its superpower and find you 1,000 other individuals who are like the individuals you provided. And then you can go from individuals who are closely aligned to making it even more broad. The next on the list is location targeting. And we're not just talking about 30 miles around your business, but Facebook also gives you the opportunity to target individuals who have indicated that they live in a particular location, someone who has visited a particular location as far as recently traveling, or they're in and out. And this is especially a good targeting feature for estate agencies, property managers who are trying to connect with people who may be moving into new locations, schools, parents who are maybe traveling and trying to find what the best location for the next school for their child is as well. Then we have detailed audience targeting. This is probably one of the most popular because Facebook has so many data assets about its users, from the demographics to interests and behaviors, and it makes just about all of that information available to advertisers. And so here, it could be very tempting to find out 50 things about your target customer and then to come to Facebook and to try to put in those 50 characteristics, character traits that you know about your customer, and then try to put the ad together. But here, a good top tip is to just think about 3 to 5 different characteristics that make up that profile of that ideal customer, and let that be one ad set, and then set up several other ad sets that have different criteria sets so you can do A/B testing. Again, Facebook has changed some of the ways where they're allowing you to target certain users just by making some of the target criteria sets a little bit more general and not as specific. So if you've been watching the news recently, things like trying to make reference to certain causes, political affiliation or religions, or even sexual orientations in some instances, you can't necessarily target users to that specific. Currently, you have to be a little bit more general, but when you give Facebook a little bit of information, it can really do a lot with its technology platform. And this is a case example of just, I can't use it because of time, so I just had to take a screenshot for you. But when you go into Facebook Advertising Manager and you type in the demographics that you're looking to see, and so here we put in that we wanted to target a university graduate who was interested in physical fitness. And then Facebook will give you an idea of who on their platform of those 2.4 billion people meet that criteria. And here in this instance, it said that there's an estimated audience size of 10 to 12 million people on Facebook. So pretty broad. And I'm going to talk about, you know, how narrow or how broad do we want to be in just a moment. But then based off of your budget, Facebook will tell you about how many of these individuals will see your ad every day. And so this is where it varies by you know, the location that you're targeting and what your budget is in terms of how many people you want to try to show up for each day. And when it comes to, well, should I target people who are within 5 miles from my business or within our region, or should I be trying to target individuals who are across the globe? Here's some best practice information from DataBox when it comes to what Facebook ad experts found worked for them. And what they found, if you can see, 50% of the experts that responded to the survey said that it's a combined approach. So having some ads that target people within that radius of your business, but then also going a little bit more broader, because people travel, and sometimes the location that they have on their Facebook profile or the location that's registered to their device may not be actually where they spend most of their time. So having that regional location targeting approach can sometimes really be effective and helpful. And the next call out here is, well, what's your best working audience size on Facebook? Because on this previous slide, as I showed, once you put in your data sets into Facebook, it's going to let you know if you have a very specific audience or if you have a very broad audience. You want to try to get into that sweet spot where it shows you green in most instances. But experts have said that it's either 1 to 10,000 users or more than 75,000 users. So you either have a lot of criteria in to where you have a really good profile of your users to where you can target your ads to them, or you're using fewer criteria sets so that Facebook is giving you a larger audience and you're allowing Facebook to do the magic of showing your ad to the right person. The thing is, when you have a larger audience and Facebook is showing your ad to more people, you could incur more costs. So your cost per lead, your cost per acquisition may be a little bit more if you are targeting more people as opposed to just trying to find that niche audience that works well for your business. And then last but not least, as we head to our next section of the webinar, is select the best ad type. So Facebook allows you to do several different types of ads, and these are just 3 of the most popular that we've seen with some of our clients. Photo ads are really good, especially when you just have one captivating photo, and maybe you're trying to generate the lead directly on Facebook. Carousel ads allow you to show 5 to 10 slides or pictures at a single time. This is really good for properties if you're trying to give a tour through pictures, or if you have a catalog of products. Someone in our chat was from an upholstery furniture company. So if you're trying to show different pieces that your business has, carousel will be really good. And then we have video ads as well. And one tip for video ads is that I think it was 80% of video ads on Facebook are actually watched on mute. So when you have a video ad, it's also important to make sure that you use a caption, because more than likely people won't have the sound on. If you're just getting started with Facebook ads, I encourage you to watch our on-demand webinar, which is how to master paid social media advertising, because we went through a good list of different ad formats and campaign ideas in our previous webinar. Awesome. Okay, I think we're making good time. So now in our next section of our webinar, we want to talk to my colleague, Richard Dowling. Richard, are you with us?
I am. Good afternoon, Brandon.
Hey, Rich, thanks for joining us. So let me do there we go. Awesome. Thanks for joining us. This next segment of the webinar, we just wanted to talk about, how can a business owner take all of this capabilities that Facebook is providing to us to get more business, right? And higher quality leads. And you've been with the company for quite some time, for about 10 years or so. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do at Local IQ?
Yeah, so hi everyone, good to see you all. I've been with Local IQ for just over 9 years now. Been in a variety of roles, worked in the local publishing centre, been part of our digital marketing services business for coming up to 5 years now. And in that time, one of the key questions when it comes to social media marketing that we get asked a lot is, I can get leads out of Facebook, no problem, but how can I convert those leads into actual customers? And for some businesses, that's less of a problem than it is for others. For example, if you're looking to grow a mailing list, the lead quality in terms of the day's customers is perhaps less relevant. So if you are looking just to build up a database of customers you want to remarket to over and over with an offer, lead quality might not be up at the top of your agenda or your priority list. But for businesses that have got a shorter lead time, so businesses that are wanting to sell to customers in the here and now, lead quality or cost per acquisition rather than cost per lead is vitally important. Now, if you compare something like Facebook to another marketing channel, for example, like Google Ads, what we often see is traffic that we generate to a website from a Google Ads campaign will convert at a far greater rate, and the quality of those leads will be greater than from Facebook. Now, to offset that, the cost per clicks on Facebook are typically lower and the cost per leads are lower. So what advertisers usually find themselves in the midst of and trying to make a balanced decision on is, do I want volume of leads or do I want quality of leads? So one of the things we've been really keen to do is identify how can we use Facebook as a marketing tool to get as high a quality of lead as we can get from another channel like Google Ads.
And so what are some of the, I was going to ask, so what are some of the ways that, the business owners can like find out like the perfect customer on Facebook?
So I always think, and I think you probably got this on the next slide, Brandon, thank you. I think one of the things I always like to look at is data. So how can we use data to make decisions that are intelligent, that allow us to properly target the right sorts of audiences? Now, if you're a pet food company selling dog food, the simple thing might be to go and target every dog owner. Most people on Facebook will say, I've got dogs, I like dogs. They'll be fans of relevant pages, so it can be quite easy to target. But for people who are going out to a mass market where it's perhaps not quite as obvious, I always like the starting point to be, what do my current customers look like? What can I identify around the trends of my current customers and what they like, what their hobbies and interests are, and what they do for a living, etc. And how can I use that information to properly target the right and relevant audience for my future customers? There's a few ways of doing this. So perhaps the most basic way is to use something like SurveyMonkey. So there's nothing wrong with going back to your recent customers, people who've just bought from you, and asking them to complete a survey. And that might be in part a satisfaction survey, but I would definitely encourage people to be asking questions around lead time. That's usually a good starting point. So how long did it take you from that conceptual idea of I needed this product or service through to actually using that product or service, or buying that product or service, I should say. But there's some other clever things you could ask people on those forms. You might ask them what they do for a living. So for anyone who signed up for this webinar, I believe that was one of the questions. What's your job title? Really powerful. If we know as a business that 80% of the people attending these webinars are marketeers, then we might want to think about trying to attract more marketers to future webinars. And you can extend that into, where do you live? You're married or not? How old are you? All the questions there you've got on the right hand side of the screen. So the simplest way is usually to go and ask your existing customers, who are they? Now, I appreciate that it can be quite difficult to get feedback from customers once they've bought products or services from you. There are some clever ways of doing this. So for most businesses we speak to, they acquire some basic detail from their customers. Email addresses, phone numbers, they're the obvious ones, but there's some GDPR issues around using that data directly. But postal data is probably my favorite. It's amazing the amount of information you can find based on someone's postcode. And I've got an example or two of how we've used postal data to identify what a business's next cohort of customer might look like. So as a bit of a case.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that particular case?
Yeah, so we've been working recently with a property developer based out of the States, but they're currently building a buy-to-rent scheme down in the southeast. And one of the challenges they've had across all marketing channels is trying to get prospects through the door to view the property who can afford the apartments. So where they're based, the average rental per month is around £900. Their price point starts about 35% higher than that. They're getting a lot of inquiries from people that just aren't in a position to be able to afford the property. So what we did was we looked at all the inquiries they generated year to date, and we segregated them into two groups. We said, let's look at the people who have inquired who couldn't proceed due to affordability, and let's look at the people who have proceeded and could afford to lease the property. And then we profiled that second group of people, and we said, what can we learn from that group of individuals? What are the vast similarities that all of those people share, and where are they based as well? Because with property, you've got to consider things like commute to work, transport links, all of these things. So what we did was we went away and we came up with a series of heat maps, hot areas around within a 5-mile radius that we thought were the most suitable to target based on the good quality applicants they'd had year to date. And then we overlaid some mosaic profiling, working with Experian, where we said, okay, typically how much do these people earn? Typically, what sort of jobs are they in? To what level have they been educated? And all of the kinds of quite quirky bits of information. I've got another example, which I'll share with you all. I've got a little boy who's 4 years old. He's at school now, but a couple of years ago when he was at nursery, we were working with the nursery group. They had 50 or 60 nurseries around the UK. And what they wanted to identify was, how do we reach the private, the family that are going to buy private education, private preschool education, rather than fully funded places? So what we did was we took the postal data, same process again, from all of the parents, all the families that were private full-time, sending their children there full-time on a private basis, not using funded placements. And what we did using the postal data was identified 6 or 7 different points that we believed were the most common. So just moving on to the next slide, Brandon. Mosaic, so working with Experian, Mosaic have got 15 key groups, and beyond those 15 groups that you can see on screen, there's in excess of 60 subtypes, and it's probably quite small on your screen today, but each of those subtypes has got an array of information in them, and it's some of the most wacky stuff that you can possibly imagine. And this story about the nursery where my little boy went is probably a great example of this. So we ran the data through, and what it told us was a good proportion of the families buying full-time non-funded places from them fell into, I'm just going to try and pull out the category here that it was. I think it was one of the Gs, one of the domestic successes, G28, Modern Parents. I'll confirm that. I'm pretty sure that was one of the key ones. Now, within that group, we were able to learn that typically a modern parent, someone who fell into the subtype G28, lived in a 4-bed detached house. They mortgaged that property, so they opened it to the bank. They shopped at Tesco. They spent a lot of time online. They were interested in video games, and they had pets. And one of the things it dished out was that pet rabbits was a type of animal that a good proportion of people in that position happen to own, which is, you know, quite out there. It's not the sort of targeting you would immediately associate with a day nursery. Now, my little boy, as I mentioned before, went to one of their nursery settings at this particular time. We live in a 4-bed house. It's mortgaged. We shopped at the time at Tesco. We don't anymore. Me and Brandon were talking about this earlier today, but at the time I shopped at Tesco. And I had 2 pet rabbits. Well, I didn't, but my little boy had 2 pet rabbits, Jurgen and Virgil. And I think that encapsulates the power of Mosaic, how precise it can be in reaching those right target audiences to that level.
Yeah. Oh, that was spot on.
Yeah, kind of much closer. Yeah.
And this is using information that is available out there, and so when businesses work with a partner like LocalIQ, you have access to this in addition to, and you overlay this with all the data that you have within your company as well. And as you mentioned, sometimes people will freely give you the information if it's become a part of this process in terms of its digital footprint. I think you have one more slide. This is the way it looks in terms of the heat maps, right?
Yeah, so one of the things we want to do is try and target the right geographies. So, for example, if we know a good proportion of, going back to that previous example, good proportion of G28 is in a particular postal area, we want to go and target that area more aggressively. So we did something, well, we used this exact method for a business in debt consolidation around 6 months ago. They had the same problem with Facebook. I can get leads, but not always necessarily the right type of lead or the right type of candidate. And it's quite difficult in the financial game to identify the right target audience, because you do have people who are quite affluent or who on the surface appear to be quite affluent. They might be driving around in expensive cars and be in big houses, and as far as Facebook knows, they're asset rich. But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're cash rich. So we were able to identify areas that have the highest debt per capita and look at the profiles of the people that fit that criteria as well. So we were able to almost double down on the targeting here. It was reaching the right geographies, the right postal areas, which you can see on the screen there, darker reds, and then overlay some of those clever targeting tools around people's behaviors, hobbies, and interests beyond that as well. So you end up with a very finite audience that is super relevant to your.
Yeah, no, that's really in depth, and that's doing a whole lot more than just doing the Facebook boosted post, right? And that's what we're talking about. Like, really, if we've got all this information out here, we've got all of these capabilities that Facebook is, putting at our fingertips, but it's just how do we make two and two work together? That was a really good example. Let's see. I think I want to make sure we have some time for questions, Rich. So let's get into that, ladies and gentlemen. And for our next steps, if you have a question that you want to ask, feel free to go to the questions tab or chat and type that in. Meanwhile, as we think about your next steps, I want to remind you that in your inbox after the webinar, you will have all of these resources from how to target audiences and set up paid ads on Facebook. We lay it out step by step for you. A complete guide to Facebook marketing, everything that we talked about today, you'll get it in the recording and in these resources, even a paid advertising budget tracker that will allow you to kind of keep track of your budgets and all of the different campaigns. Because remember, like it says here on your pro tip, one of the things that we suggest is that you do A/B testing with your campaigns and your different creatives, set up the different audience targeting for different ad sets so that you can see which ones actually convert and help you achieve your business goal or that objective that you set out for. Remember to try to, just as Rich just shared with us, to utilize as many ways as you can to collect data assets from your customers as much as you can, because that'll really make a difference in terms of how your business is future-proofed, if we can use that, as policies change with privacy and targeting regulations. So as I go to some of the questions here, I want to ask you, what's your next step? I've got a poll here that I do want to ask. Let's see, what's your next step? We'll launch that poll. And while that is there, think about what you want to do next. You've heard a lot of information today. Want to be action oriented. Do you still feel like you need to learn a little bit more? Do you have some ideas, some new ideas that you'll be able to take back to your team? Do you want to learn more about the Mosaic, or just how a partner like LocalIQ can support you? Let us know that, and we'll come back to the questions in a second here. Awesome. All right, thanks for that. We got a few more completing that. All right. Cool. Let me get my questions up. All right, let's see. All right, the first question I've got here. How can you grow your Facebook following organically other than just posting? So posting is one of the best ways to grow your following. However, you want to make sure that you do have a variety of posts, sales posts, conversation starters. You could even do competitions with your content. You also just want to make sure you respond to and communicate with your followers and answer the questions online through forums. That really helps build your authority. So if you want to grow your Facebook following organically, it's about having a variety of posts, but you can also activate paid ads on Facebook with that objective as to create awareness about your Facebook fan page. This was a good question that came through. For multi-location branch companies, is it a good idea to have a Facebook page for each location to increase coverage on a hyper local scale? Thank you for that. I think you can have either. The issue we would see would be, having an individual having to manage each of those pages. So that's the question. If you were to create a Facebook fan page for every one of your locations, how would you manage it? Would they all be centrally managed, or would each one be managed by someone in that particular location? If it's managed by someone in each location, then messaging across each page may be different and difficult to manage. So I think when it comes to that, it's a matter of scale. How can we attract new clients who need care in their home? I'm going to toss that to Rich. Rich, are you still with me here?
I am, yeah.
You've done a lot in the care sector. How would you help a client, and they said they wanted to reach an audience who need care in their home?
So we're looking here for the care company looking to acquire the service user, or we're looking for
a person, I think it says a person in their home that need care assistance. So how could we attract and try to target those types of customers?
Yeah, so we've actually done quite, and this might not directly answer the question, we've done quite a lot working with care homes to help them find staff. Because one of the challenges is, and I'll come on to the service user in a moment, but one of the challenges with staff is very much, I'm on Indeed, I'm trying to attract the right candidate. This is roughly the salary per hour. And I'm in a mix with a lot of other industries like warehouse operatives, and I can't get the right caliber of candidate, the person with the right skill set. So there it's very much about using something like Mosaic data to identify the people who have got the right empathetic skills and right characteristics that will make them good carers. When it comes to the other side, so trying to find the people who require the care, and this might sound really, really obvious, but I think it's about targeting the adult children of the person who needs the care. They're going to be the ones who are making the decision. Might be an interesting one for us to pick up post call with whoever it is who's asked that question. Be happy to do that if we can organise sharing details. But yeah, a very interesting area, and care is something we've had a lot of experience with very recently.
Yeah, and I think that's a great point too. Sometimes we think that our customer is one person, but it might actually be someone else in the household, or a friend, who can be or speak from that circle of influence as well. And it's how do we also get their attention through social as well?
It can be quite a reactive purchase. But I've got someone in the family who now needs care. Where am I going to go? How do we capture them at that moment whilst on Facebook? That's a little bit trickier. But definitely happy to have a conversation or set up a call with that person to try and help a little further if I can.
Cool. Thanks, Rich, for that. And thank you, everyone, for all the questions that were coming through. There's more questions than we can actually answer right now, but we're going to post all of the answers to your questions, especially the ones that we weren't able to get to today, on our blog. So make sure you stay tuned to that, localiq.co.uk. This recording will be available along with other additional resources, and it'll also be posted on demand on our website when you go to webinars under resources. Not only will you be able to see the recording from today's call, but if you feel like you also need some background information, maybe it's a topic that we've already covered, you can feel free to log into those on-demand webinars as well. All right, so that's it for today's session. I know we covered a lot within our 45 minutes. I hope that you found that it was helpful. At least 60% of the people that responded on our poll said that you did find something on our call today that you'll be able to take back to your team and share it as a new idea or a new strategy or tactic. So with that, I will consider it a success. So thank you so much for taking time out of your day to join us, and we hope to see you on our next webinar. Talk to you later.